Warning, the following ZipRecruiter radio spot you are about to hear is going to be filled with F words.
When you're hiring, we at ZipRecruiter know you can feel frustrated, forlorn even, like your efforts are futile, and you can spend a fortune trying to find fabulous people, only to get flooded with candidates who are just fine. Fortunately, ZipRecruiter figured out how to fix all that. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/zip. With ZipRecruiter, you can forget your frustrations because we find the right people for your roles fast, which is our absolute favorite F word. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day.
Fantastic!
So, whether you need to hire 4, 40, or 400 people, get ready to meet first-rate talent. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/zip to try ZipRecruiter for free. Don't forget, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip. Finally, that's ZipRecruiter.com/zip.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting exclusive offer just for you.
For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just go to getcopperhead.com. That's getcopperhead.com for your 2 free gifts with purchase. Getcopperhead.com.
Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details.
Welcome to the CJ Moneyway Show podcast, the podcast show where we unlock potential one dream at a time. Today, we have another guest whose journey is truly worth hearing. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the Moneyway experience.
What's up, my good people? Welcome to the CJ Moneyway Show, in association with Believe Network, where we bring you stories and leaders, change makers, and those who inspire us to be our best. I'm your host, CJ Moneyway, and today we're talking about a topic that doesn't always get the attention that it deserves: accountability. Our guest today is Robert J. Hunt, also known as the Accountability Guy. He's an executive coach, business owner, and the co-author of the book, Nobody Cares Until You Do. Since 2013, Robert has been running as CEO peer groups in the Dallas-Worth, Texas area, helping leaders get clear on their goals and remove obstacles keeping them from success. He's passionate about his faith, family, and purpose. And today he's here to share his wisdom with us. Robert, welcome to the CJ Moneyway Show, man. Great to have you on with us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
So, Robert, you're known as the accountability guy. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey and how did you become so passionate about accountability, and what led you to write Nobody Cares Until You Do?
Well, I'll tell you, I wasn't accountable the majority of my life. I'm 61 years old. I think I finally started getting a grip on it starting in 2019. And so as a young man, I was very lazy. And I think, like most people, I had got into a pattern of making excuses or blame or saying I can't do something when life didn't go my way. Mm-hmm. And in the last years before I made the big change, there was an awful lot of waiting and hoping that somehow God would magically fix all the problems for all the bad decisions I make. And it doesn't work that way. And so as I began my career in the last 15 years of leading peer groups, I would watch business owners who do a great job being accountable. They're the ones who have great results. They're the ones who are doing what they really want to do, living the life they really want. Not that everything goes their way, not that they don't have problems, but they own it. That's the definition of accountability, is you own it. And I didn't own it. I always made excuses. I was always waiting and hoping somehow it would fix itself. And I think a lot of people live their life like that. And so I want to be able to tell people the freedom and power that's found in accountability. It's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. Accountability is freedom and hope. And I've watched it in my own life. I've watched it in the lives of my clients. And so that really drives me to be the accountability guy and get the word out.
I appreciate you bringing that to the forefront, because that's one thing that I like to touch on myself, even in other podcasts that I'm doing. planting seeds with CJ is the accountability part. And I think, as you say, for the most part, I think is men. I'm not saying all, women don't, but as far as men is who I'm trying to reach, I think for the most part, a lot of times we don't take accountability for our own actions, as you said, trying to pass it on to somebody else, or it's not my fault, or just don't want to deal with it entirely. So I understand exactly what you're saying, because as you said, and I can admit to it too, that was me. And so there's no better person who can come out and explain things about besides someone who has been through it themselves. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like you've experienced it. You know it. You know what you're talking about. So I can give you advice about how not a person do not take accountability. So I appreciate you sharing that with us.
I can tell you how to not be accountable.
Exactly.
We all know that one.
Yeah, in a lot of different areas, man. In a lot of different areas. I totally agree with you. And like you say, your life won't get on track until you start taking accountability for your actions. You know what I'm saying? The things that you have done in life. I get a big testament from that, from the story in Genesis, man, with Adam. He was the first man that didn't take accountability for his own actions, if you really think about it. He blamed it on his wife.
Right. and even, let's take it in the last couple of years, 20, 30 years, our society has moved away from a spirit of accountability, where we have become where you could do whatever you want to do on social media. Nobody drives over your house and punches you in the mouth. You just kind of have this whole lifestyle of saying and doing whatever you feel like. And if things don't work out, you just go bankruptcy. If things don't work out, you just leave your family. I mean, the world has become where there's no accountability to the kinds of things that kept us together before. When you grew up, your parents taught you things, and they were either based on your faith or the government or the rules of your house. There was something there that drove us. Those things seem to be gone anymore. So everybody does whatever feels good to them. And that's really not what we're looking for.
So, Robert, one of the key points in your book is that accountability can't be forced. It has to be chosen. Can you walk us through the steps someone can take to start holding themselves accountable and making real progress towards their goals?
Yeah, that's a really important point. Nobody can hold anyone else accountable. And we say that a lot. We say that to our kids, or we say that to our employees. I'm going to hold you accountable. Sometimes we even invite people in to be our accountability partner. But at the end of the day, nobody can hold you accountable. You can only hold yourself accountable if you want to. And sometimes people would argue with me, well, I have employees and I'm holding them accountable. Well, no, you're holding them responsible. Because if they do something or they don't do something, you'll come and talk to them about it. But they have to own it. There was a reason why you hired that person. When you interviewed them, you talked about all the stuff you want to do. You talked about how you want them to be. You talked about the company and where you're going. Hopefully you did all this stuff. And then when they join, you expect them to do what things you hired them for. You didn't expect you have to sit there and look at them and go, why aren't you working? Work harder. Why are you doing that? You expected that they would do the job you hired them for. And they can choose to be accountable for the job they have, or they can choose just to show up and sit in the desk and take a paycheck. That's being responsible. If you don't show up for work, they think something's wrong. They call you. Hey, you're supposed to be here. That's responsible. Show up. But accountable is to do what you were hired for, to care, to look around and see how other people have needs and care for them, and to do beyond what you could, that's your job description, to see what is needed for the moment. And so I think if you're really going to create a culture where either in your personal life or your professional life, where the world around you is accountable, you have to model it. You have to live the life where you own it, where you're not making excuses or blaming or saying you can't or just waiting and hoping things get better. But you live out a life where you show that you're accountable to the kind of life you want to live, and other people will follow.
I agree with you. And, what you was talking about as far as the hiring process, when you hire somebody to do a job, and as you were saying earlier, we're living in a society, we were just talking about this at work last night. We're living in a society now, man, where people don't even want to do bare minimum, not go over and above what their job requirement is. They don't even want to do the job requirement that they was hired to do. They don't even want to do the bare minimum. They just want to come to work and collect a check. And then, then when you do have to do some work is, you want to blame it on this habit. No, that's what we was hired to do. You can't complain about what we was hired to do. Right. And, and that's just like you say, man, that's just the world that we living in today, man. It's like, this is what it is. This is what it has been. We're getting accustomed to, but I don't want to get accustomed to that. You know what I'm saying? Like you said earlier, I want to live my life based on values and morals as we was raised, you know what I'm saying, to be spiritual, you know, and things of that nature, man. I don't want to live this mundane life that, you know, society saying that everything is okay when it's not.
Well, the only way we're going to get people to want to be accountable is to create a vision of what can be done when you are. And in our own lives, we often give up on our hopes and dreams and compromise. And we spend more time trying to optimize a crappy life than to step back and realize, well, what do I want my life to really look like, and go chase that. And it's not all about fame and success and money. It's about joy. It's about contentment. It's about enjoying the God who saved you, the spouse who married you, the kids that were given to you, the health that you have, all those things. We get to choose what our life looks like. So in our book, the book is called Nobody Cares Until You Do. And it is about the tools to be aware of where you play a victim in your life, to lead you to a moment of recognition and decide, I don't want to live like that anymore, which is that nobody cares moment, where you say to yourself, nobody cares if I'm fat, broke, unhappy with my spouse, unhappy with my job. Nobody cares unless I care to do something about it. And then the second half of the book walks you through that. Well, the first step when we take you in the book is to have to do a satisfaction assessment. 2 wheels with little pie chart sections in them. And we just have you score. How satisfied are you in your personal, professional life? And then you can look at that and go, well, I'm not happy with my marriage, or I'm not happy with my health or my finances, or I don't like the management team at our company, or I don't like the way our finances of our business are. And then the question is, okay, so why? What are you going to do about it? And it's at that moment that you either make excuses or blame or say you can't do anything about it or wait and hope. But that's a victim mentality. If you're going to be accountable and thereby take the power to do something about it, you have to own that. So what are we going to do when we don't like the finances of our company? What are we going to do when we don't like our spouse? What are we going to do when our health is not the way we want to be? We have to own that, but it gives us the power. When you take accountability for everything in your life, that's the moment you have the power to change anything in your life. And we did in our own story. That's exactly what we did.
Man, I like that. When you take accountability, you know what I'm saying, you can change everything in your life. And that's so true. So let me ask you, Rob, what's one key takeaway or piece of advice from the book that you hope really sticks with the readers?
Oh, just one, huh? Okay. I think the simplest part is just to recognize that there's power in accountability. When in 2019, my beautiful wife, Kathy, and I, we owed $90,000 in debt. And that didn't include the house or the cars. And we were miserable. And we were this way for a lot of years, because you don't just get $90,000 in debt overnight. You got to start with 10, you go to 30, and then you go to 50. And, it took us years to get to that place. So we've been living in debt for years, and the stress that came with that. And in 2019, we just talked between us in January at the start of the year and said, what do you want our life to really look like? And we realized that we're not living the life that we want. And when we looked at the reason why, it was us. It was the decisions we make. It was the way we handled the challenges. We were angry at everybody, everything. We were blaming God. We were angry at God. We were angry at each other. It was a stressful time. So we decided that we were sick of trying to wait for someone else to come fix our problems, and we were going to own it. And that was the turning point. We turned it around and we sold our house, and we used that money to pay off all our debt and start over. So in April of 2020, when the world was shutting down, we were debt free. And it gave us clarity and a new hope and a vision for our lives and joy and peace, the kind of things we had not had in a long time because we lived under the burden of that debt. Mm-hmm. So we just decided that that's not the life that we wanted to live. And so we owned it. And so if I could just have one thing, is to have people just look at your life and honestly say, are you living the life you want? Not is your life perfect. I presented to a group of people who were unemployed a couple weeks ago. And I asked them, are you living the life you want? And they looked at me like, what are you, crazy? We don't have jobs. And I said, it doesn't matter. Whether you have a job or not doesn't mean you can't live the life you want. If you have no money, you could still live the life you want. You could still pick up the kids from school and listen to how their day was and help cook dinner that night. When you have a job, you don't get the chance to pick up the kids from school. You don't even have time for dinner because you're working late. So what do you want? You're going to be miserable either way. Either you're miserable because you don't have money, or you're miserable because you can't be with your kids. Choose the life you want and pursue that. And I think that's the whole trick. Is it, do you really know if you're living the life you want or not, or have you given up?
Yeah, I like that. Don't give up, because a lot of times we do give up. Like you said, we don't see the route, or like what you said earlier. And I think that was a good point. Even as faith believers, people that believe in God, when things go so wrong or things not going nowhere near what you expect it to be or go, we start questioning. You know what I'm saying?
Sure,
we start questioning, why is this happening to me? Why are we going through this? I pray, I go to church, I pay my tithes, I pay my offerings, all these type of things, you know what I'm saying? And then you're wondering why you're in this position that you're in, like you said, until you step back and look at the man in the mirror and say, you know what, no one else is causing this situation but us, you know.
Well, the other side, how come we never ask that question when we get big good things? How come we never question, why me when you get a big raise? How come we never question, why me when I get a really great job or a promotion? How come I never say, why me when I get to marry the most amazing woman in the world? Why did I not turn to God and say, why?
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.
Hi, I'm Richard Karn, and you may have seen me on TV talking about the world's #1 expandable garden hose. Well, the brand new Pocket Hose Copperhead with Pocket Pivot is here, and it's a total game changer. Old-fashioned hoses get kinks and creases at the spigot, but the Copperhead's Pocket Pivot swivels 360 degrees for full water flow and freedom to water with ease all around your home. When you're all done, this rust-proof anti-burst hose shrinks back down to pocket size for effortless handling and tidy storage. Plus, your super light and ultra-durable Pocket Hose Copperhead is backed with a 10-year warranty. What could be better than that? I'll tell you what, an exciting exclusive offer just for you.
For a limited time, you can get a free Pocket Pivot and their 10-pattern sprayer with the purchase of any size Copperhead hose. Just go to getcopperhead.com. That's getcopperhead.com for your 2 free gifts with purchase. Getcopperhead.com.
Message and data rates may apply. See terms for details.
Are you doing this? It's only when things don't go our way that we turn to God and get angry at him. But if we think he's God, doesn't he get to be God on either side of the equation? He gets to be God whether you get good things or bad things. He's still God. It doesn't change who he is. It just changes how we view him.
I totally agree with you. It's just like, like you say, when we're going through things in life, we question, this and that, I need to pay a bill as we're talking about. And, he come through in the 11th hour. And at the end of the day, we go through all that time complaining and hoping or praying like, Lord, I need you to bring me up out of this. And then he does it. But then after he does it, a lot of times we act like we did it on our own, or
we forget about it.
Yeah, we don't say thank you. You know what I'm saying? Just a simple thank you. And so those are the values, you know what I'm saying? And it's called, as we know, the words say that we should give thanksgiving in all things, regardless of what you're going through, whether I'm up or down or, being content with wherever I'm at. We give thanks at all times. And I think that is very vital and key to opening up doors in your life just to be thankful for whatever situation you're in at that moment. Because as you probably can attest to us, is that when you go through certain things that you don't want to go through, you learn certain things along the way. You know what I'm saying? That's valuable. No, I didn't want to go through this. I didn't want to go through that. But now that I look back over my life, I'm 61 years old now, as you say, I look back over my life now, I had to go through those things to become the person that I am today, the trials and tribulations that we was talking about before we started.
Yeah, my mom always said that the view from the top of the mountain is beautiful, but the fruit grows in the valley. And when I've been in the ditch is the times that I've learned and grown. When everything's great, I'm like, see you, God. I'll let you know if I need something.
Yeah.
And he knows that. He knows our nature. Not like he's doing that to screw us over. He's doing this to let us own our decisions. He gives us freedom, which is pretty cool. And that freedom is to obey him and follow him, not to ignore him. But a lot of times we just go along doing our own thing, being irresponsible. God gave me a business that I've been able to run for all these years. And instead of being prudent with the money he brought my way, I spent more than I could afford and I went into debt. That's not what God expects us to do. He expects us to spend less than we earn. This is a novel idea. Probably no one's probably heard of this. Spend less money than you actually make. And then take some of that money and save it so that when things go wrong in the future, you've got a backup plan. But people don't do that. We actually spend more than we earn. There's no chance for savings. And that's a broken part of our society where people who become entitled and demand certain things have forgotten that you're not supposed to have everything and it's okay to want or just to not have. It's okay.
Yeah. Like we said earlier, that unthankful heart. You know what I'm saying? We got unthankful hearts, but expect God to just continue pouring blessings on us. And then when he do give us blessings, like we said, we don't even say thank you. We can't even give a simple thanks. And that's one thing that's out the window right now. Like you may go to the store and you hold the door open for someone that's coming in behind you. You open the door. Courtesy. People used to say, thank you, young man, or thank you, sir. Now people just, you open the door for somebody, everybody entitled. You feel like they're entitled, like you supposed to just keep the door open for them. Just a simple thank you go a long way, not just to us as humans, but to God as well. You know what I'm saying? Because as you said, he sees the heart, the thankful heart that we have, man, and that we're trying to show him, not only to him, but to others as well as what you're doing in the businesses and things that you're possessing. So Robert, man, you've worked with countless leaders over the years in your experience. What are the top 5 traits of a great CEO?
Yeah, I've watched this consistently with the leaders that are in our groups that we run. And the 5 things are that number one thing is they make decisions because they're in charge and they're supposed to make decisions. So in order to do that well, they're constantly learning. They never stop learning. The world's constantly changing. If you're not learning, you're falling behind. And when you do make a decision, the third thing is they own it. They create a world of accountability by their own behavior. And so making a decision and then not owning it is irresponsible as a leader. So you have to be able to learn enough to know what you want to do, make the decision, and then own that decision. And that's the process where leaders really build stability in their organization. The fourth thing is that they're always pouring into others. They're always making time to create leaders. Some of the things that we have to do if we're going to scale our business is to get out of the job of doing all the work and move to a place of coaching and guiding. And if you're pouring into leaders, you're creating more leaders. So they pour into leaders. And the last thing is they drive results. I haven't thought about this in a while. They drive the results. So they don't do the work, but they lead the team to the place of where they want to be. So as a leader, you own the whole process, but it involves you committing to be knowledgeable and be skillful and then pour into others through that process.
Those are some good points, Robert, man. Thank you for sharing that. Now, Robert, we talked about it a little bit, but I want you to expound on it a little bit. So you've mentioned that faith is a big part of your life. How has faith influenced your approach to coaching and leadership?
I feel like God brings me to people that I can serve through my coaching and through my peer groups. And I really take that very seriously. I get a level of trust with these leaders. They're business owners or CEOs of companies here in the DFW area. They expect that whatever we talk about stay private. And so I've learned to work on being a good listener, but also to challenge them to be their best. I think God gives me discernment as I listen to people's challenges. One thing I don't do is I don't tell people what to do. I ask them what they want to do. And then I can share some stories and some insights that can help them get past that. But I think God has given me a spirit of serving people, of discerning and being a good listener because of that. And then I really, truly love them. I love them like God loves me, gave his own son to die for me. I feel that love in my own life, and I want to share that love with other people. My clients don't all share my faith, and I'm cool with that. It's not my job to save them, but it is my job to live like I belong to Jesus. And so through my business and through my serving them, I get a chance to represent Christ in the business world, and that gives me joy.
I got another podcast that I just started. Actually, I had a trailer last week called Planting Seeds with CJ. And I've also, writing a book that's coming out this year too as well. Another book called Faith Through Through Tribulations. And as I looked at it, they're both correlating with the scripture, the sword that sowed. And so, as I'm listening to you, as you said, a lot of times we're just sowing seeds. As you say, some of them don't, got the same type of faith that you have. So God just put us in position to sow seeds. And so as a writer, as, people that sing and things of that nature, at the end of the day, we're all planting seeds. But it just depends on what type of seeds you're planting. You know what I'm saying? So even in that scripture, it talks about that, some get 30, some get 60, some get 100, and it'll say some go to the wayside, and, some, go against persecution, some things that we're faced in life, and then we get happy and it chokes the life out of it. But at the end of the day, same seeds, but different results. So
but sometimes we're sowing seeds of discord. Sometimes we're sowing seeds of a lack of contentment. And this is why I have the word grateful up on my shelf here, because the grateful is different than thankful. Grateful is looking at all the things you've already been given. And even if the rest of my life was a downhill slope from here, I've lived such an amazing life that I could be grateful the rest of my life. And I think if you really stop and step back and look at all the gifts you've been given, the fact that you're living in America, the fact that you have your health, whatever job you have a job. There's so many blessings that we have. But when we're entitled, it's never enough. But if we can learn to be grateful, I think I'm sowing seeds of gratitude. I'm sowing seeds of contentment. Contentment is a misunderstood word. Contentment doesn't mean that there's an absence for drive. It means that you're willing to do your best, but accept that God will decide how well that works. When a farmer plants corn, he puts the seed into the ground. First, he turns the soil, puts the seed in the ground, waters it, keeps the weeds away, keeps the birds away. But he does not determine how many ears of corn grow on that stalk. It could be 2, it could be 3. Some of them could be rotten. Some could be small. Some could be big. He could stand there and scream at the corn to grow faster. It doesn't change. And so there's only so much we get to do. We sow some things by our behaviors, but God determines the outcome. So I think we need to learn to be people who are content to do your very best and leave the result to God.
Exactly. Now, what did he say? He say, some water, some plant. But at the end of the day, neither one of them is nothing. Because as you was just alluding to about the corn, so small, it's God who gives the increase.
It is. Yeah, it is.
So only thing that you and I and others can do, Robert, is just play our part and do what God has commissioned us to do. And like you say, to love others. And as we talking about society and the world today, I've been on this for a long time. I think one thing that's missing in a lot of families and in a lot of areas of life is just genuine love, just having a genuine type of love from people, without no ulterior motives and things of that nature, but just loving people genuinely and wanting to see people succeed without, Like I want something from you. I want to share this with you because I don't want to see you go down the same route that I went down. So that's the purpose of, the book that you wrote. That's the purpose of doing outreach community things that you do or that we do, because we don't want to see people go down the routes that we took or had to go down through. And so now I can give you somewhat of a blueprint, like, no, that's not the street that you want to go down. You know what I'm saying?
And it's still their choice, right? They still choose whether they do it or not. That's the whole beauty of accountability. I can't make anybody do something, but I can share my story and I can tell you, hey, I was $90,000 in debt. Hey, I was having marital problems. Hey, I was angry at God. And in my life, I've been victimized as a person. I had an abusive father when I was a kid. He used to beat us, used to beat my mom, and we were poor and we had all kinds of problems. I could grow up and be an angry person who beats his kid and his wife, but I'm not doing that because I choose the life I want to live. And so we make a choice, and you can decide to be a victim your whole life. You could have had a horrible childhood. You could have grown up and had a divorce and gone bankrupt and lost jobs. You could be as bitter as you want to be, or you could realize you still got chances. You still got a life ahead of you. And it might have sucked in the past, but God is good, and there is hope, and there's a future. Don't give up. Don't look at your past and stay frozen. You're not a victim unless you stay that way. You can take accountability for your life, and you can change every bit of it.
I like that, man. There's so much that can go on with that. Yeah, take accountability and keep it moving, man. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to be stuck in the past because, as you know and I know, people want to always put you or remember you as you were. I remember you when you had $90,000 in debt, you know what I'm saying? Whatever. But then I look at you and say, well, okay, that was then, but that's not where I'm at right now. That's not what God didn't deliver me from that. So people always want to, you know, saying keep you stuck or keep you in remembrance of what you used to do or your past life. Man, when God, you know what I'm saying, when God changes you, man, and bring you into a new creature. I'm a new creature in Christ, you know what I'm saying, with a renewed mind. I'm not worried about nothing that you talking about. I'm doing what, you know what I'm saying, I'm doing what I'm doing, man. You can't focus on, you know what I'm saying, the haterism and things of that nature, man. So me and Robert, we gonna keep it going. So Rob, let me ask you, man, living with purpose is something many people strive for, is what we're talking about, but it's not always easy to define what that means. How can someone begin to define their purpose in life and start living it out?
Yeah, I teach all of my clients how to define their personal purpose in life. And I actually learned it from a book called Dare to Serve Leadership by Cheryl Batchelder. She wrote it many years ago. She was the CEO of Popeye's Chicken. And she would teach all of her senior executives how to understand their personal purpose in life. And I read her book, and it was very clear how to do that. So I defined my own through that process. And I use that same process to teach my clients how to do that too. So it's not hard. Everyone can and should do it. Because when you're looking at two really good decisions, your personal purpose can help you choose between the best of the two. Even though they're both really good, this one goes towards my personal purpose in life. There's nothing better than living out your personal purpose. It determines how I spend my time and my money, my life, my energy, all the relationships. They're all filtered through the lens of, this is why I exist. This is why I'm here. At the very top of my purpose in life is to honor God with my life and live in such a way that people come to know Christ. That's my job. Second to that is the way I'm supposed to love and care for and serve my wife and my kids and my family members. And then down below that is the role that I play for my career and for the community around me. And I can live out my personal purpose through that, which mine is defined as helping people remove the obstacles that keep them from being their best. That's my purpose in life. And I have a job where I get to do that. So it makes my job super fun because every day I'm at work, even if it's a boring day, I'm still doing my purpose. And that gives me a lot of joy. So I encourage people to go get the copy of Dare to Serve Leadership and read that, especially at the back end of the book where it teaches you how to define your personal purpose.
On that note, man, as we getting ready to close, Robert, and I tell you, as I've told many others that come on the show, I really appreciate people like yourself whom, you know, as you share some of your story with us, and you have a heart to serve people. And I think that's one of the biggest things in life that we all can do, not only to serve ourselves and do things for ourselves and for our family, but when you have a heart to serve others and want to see other people succeed that you don't know, people that you do know, but especially people that comes from all other types of walks in life, to be able to embrace them, like you say, you know, to love them, to love on them. You know what I'm saying? I think that's a big thing in life, man. And we need more people like yourself, man, and others that's doing this type of work, man. We need more people like you in society, and then, you know, maybe things will get a little better, you know. So, Robert, man, it's been an incredible conversation. Thank you for sharing your insights on accountability, leadership, and purpose. Before we wrap up, where can people learn more about you, your book, Nobody Cares Until You Do, and the work that you're doing with leaders in the Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas area?
Yeah. To go find out about the book, you go to nobodycaresbook.com, and then you can order books from us there. We're on Amazon and Target and Barnes & Noble and all that stuff, but we prefer you buy it from us. We'll send it out with a personal note, sign the book, and all that good stuff. So nobodycaresbook.com for the book, and learn about us there. Of course, we're on all the social media channels, Facebook and LinkedIn and YouTube and all that. And then for me, with my business, with executive coaching and peer groups here in DFW, you can go to refdallas.com. And that's my information about my company. And I'm looking to do more workshops this year. I did 2 last year. Love to go anywhere in the country where someone will bring me out to come and present the principles of accountability and talk about the book, Nobody Cares, and to help their employees or their church or their community embrace the principles of accountability and the freedom that comes with that.
Well, again, Robert, man, I thank you for being part of the CJ Moneyway Show. And to our listeners, thank you for tuning in. If you found value in today's episode, please leave us a review, subscribe, and share it with someone who could benefit from learning about accountability and leadership. Make sure to check out Robert's book, Nobody Cares Until You Do, and visit his website to learn more about his CEO peer groups. Until next time, stay accountable, stay driven, stay striving to be your best. This is CJ Moneyway signing off. We out of here. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the CJ Moneyway Show. Don't forget to share this episode with your friends, leave a comment, and drop a review. Be sure to tune in every Tuesday and Friday for more inspiring journeys. Who knows? Your story might be next.
You just realized your business needed to hire someone yesterday. How can you find amazing candidates fast? Easy. Just use Indeed. Stop struggling to get your job post seen on other job sites. With Indeed sponsored jobs, your post jumps to the top of the page for your relevant candidates, so you can reach the people you want faster. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs posted directly on Indeed have 45% more applications than non-sponsored jobs. Don't wait any longer. Speed up your hiring right now with Indeed. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your jobs more visibility at Indeed.com/kidsandfamily. Just go to Indeed.com/kidsandfamily right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Terms and conditions apply. Hiring? Indeed is all you need.